I just got to pitch for the first time a couple weekends ago, and I have my boy Bobby here review the footage. Bobby, what do you do? Where do you work?
So I'm a pitching instructor out of Performance Fitness for Athletes. It's out in Montclair. So I've been in the industry for like 11 years. I was playing pro ball before. I had no idea what I was doing, but ever since working with clients and athletes from all ages, start to pick up on simple tendencies on the throwing side.
Perfect, very good. So we just played catch earlier, and he gave me some tips on my arm path and a little bit about how my lower body was working, and I was like, okay, got to share this with the Headbanger family. So a couple things that I learned, and I'll just kind of say the concepts that Bobby was teaching me, and then he can kind of walk you through a little bit of the science behind it. But some issues that I was having when I was throwing was when I rear back and I think that I'm trying to throw hard, I will get further away from my body here. It's almost like I'm thinking if I create space away from my body, then I'll be able to whip through the zone faster. But I learned that that's actually a lot less efficient, and when practicing it with throwing, it was almost like the simpler the movement, the more efficient the path. Why might that be?
So it's kind of it's a little bit complicated, but the simple answer is you do want to create space, but you want to create space with the right body parts. So like when you're moving your chest, for instance, your chest muscles themselves are expanding. So a lot of people talk about scap retraction. So you're pulling your shoulder blades back, but really what's happening is you're lengthening or elongating the pec muscles, which is causing that rubber band stretch to want to snap through at the end. So when you're moving through the hands, you're creating a bigger pattern with the right mindset. I mean, you're a really good athlete, and infielders and position players are typically really good at this, just naturally, but you're moving what's called distally to proximally. So you're moving from the furthest point to the closest point of your center of mass. So when you're moving through that pattern, you're creating the same stretch that you would. That's why you throw 90 miles an hour. But when you move from that distance, as innings go on, as seasons go on, as everything evolves, it gets a lot harder to maintain and a lot harder to repeat because your body breaks down and gets tired. So moving from the inside out is a great way for you to find that same feedback that you're getting without having to do all the unnecessary movement.
Yes, 100%. And that is, again, if you want to play baseball at a high level, so much of it is playing the long game. I know tons of guys who are incredibly gifted athletes who cannot stay healthy for the life of them. So something that I took away from this session that we just did that was super quick was I might be able to say throw the same speed. Maybe if I say I clean out my arm path and everything and I get my body working in sync, maybe I'm still throwing exactly the same speed. Maybe I top out at 90. But I'm telling you, from this catch session that we had, it was so much more efficient and effortless to where I can tell that if I were an actual pitcher who was pitching every single day, it would be much more sustainable in the long run. And again, if you want to play this game a long time, it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. So that being said, another thing that really was helpful for me was talking about my lower half. I didn't know how to think about my lower half with regards to pitching. I knew how to think about my lower half with regards to hitting, so I was maybe doing some things right. But one of the things that I was doing was with my rear leg, I was coming through this way a little bit early. And so, you know, obviously that has to happen at some point, and with hitting, we do want the backside to work against the front side. But that's the key, is they're working in sync against each other and they're working together. Now, the issue that I was having was I was releasing this rear leg a little bit early in my pitching motion to where it looked something like this. Tell me why tell me why that's bad and why pitchers who are doing that might be missing out on some stuff.
Yeah, so it's really simple. Like, we're just trying to stay in the fight longer with your lower half. A lot of guys think like push off the ground, and when you push off the ground, you're essentially throwing off of one foot. Like, if for you guys watching, if you try and throw off your left foot, you may be able to get some pretty decent power. Left foot, same thing. But the second you add both feet and you try and produce your optimal or highest speed, it's going to be a lot higher than either foot. So that's kind of the concept, is it keeps you grounded, but on the opposite end of the spectrum, it also increases chance of injury when you have that push off. So we're trying to think connection to the ground, but we're also trying to think connection of the ball to the entire whip. So we're trying to be a human whip where everything is working in sync from the ground up. So when you jump off the ground, it compromises the integrity of that kinetic chain, which makes you susceptible to your elbow ending up leaking out in front when you're coming out of layback into follow through.
Awesome, very good. So again, you see a lot of similarities when I talk hitting, when he talks pitching. There's a lot of similarities going on. It's because the way our body works in all athletic movements is going to have consistencies. Something that I want to leave you guys with. So between the two things that he just said, the main takeaways for me as I go about my throwing in future catch sessions, one thing I want to think about is keeping my arm path simple. With previously, again, I would think big with everything I was doing, and it would lead to some inefficiencies. Right now, the motion I'm thinking, and again, it's not going to be perfect right now because I'm still working on it, but I'm thinking about working from here, very simple, down here, and then up. That's what it is, yes. So it's here, up, and then we work through. And again, I'm super new at this. There's a lot of things I don't know, but just by keeping my arm path a little bit more simple when we were throwing, I was thinking about a nice smooth motion. I wasn't thinking about taking it back super fast. I was just thinking about flowing, just as you would with hitting, trying to get your rhythm in sync here. So smooth flow. Is there anything you'd like to add on to that little takeaway?
Slow is smooth, smooth is fast.
There you go. Slow is smooth, smooth is fast. The last feel that was very helpful for me, again, different feels are for different players, but for me personally, when my back leg's coming off the ground like that, a good feel for me was thinking that there's a piece of gum under my shoe, and we just made a collab video. You're probably gonna see it eventually. Where I almost think about having my rear foot be stuck to the ground, helping me maintain that ground connection a little bit longer before releasing. So Bobby, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it. And shout out Headbanger family. Appreciate you guys.
Sir.